What is up, everybody? Welcome to Party on Broad. Today, we're talking the latest in Philadelphia 76ers news and the Philadelphia Eagles. We're going to talk about Kelly Oubre. I'm going to give Rob a list of reasons, a handful of reasons why he should be excited about the Sixers in 2024. And then we're going to get down and dirty with Eagles versus Bucs. Joining me, he is Rob Lange at Philly_Madness. What's good, Rob?
Listen, you got a tall order in front of you to try and get me excited about the 76ers in a month. Like I've been burned by this team all season, so I am excited about Kelly Oubre. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I'm looking forward to hearing this list.
All right, let's jump right in, man. Let's talk about Kelly Oubre. Here's the rundown. He shot 38.3% from the corners from three, 32% in the catch and shoot from three. He did shoot 36% from three on wide open looks, which is important considering how many freaking wide open shots they took and missed in the playoffs last year. His average seconds per touch was 11th on the Hornets, which is a really good number when you consider he put up 20 points a game and he's going into a Nick Nurse offense that prides itself typically on moving the basketball. 3.6 deflections per 36 minutes. 81st percentile among guards in steal percentage. Gotta love that. And then he is definitely an ISO guy. Don't love that as much. But when it comes to Kelly Oubre, again, he averaged 20-plus points for the Hornets last year. I like the attempts, 7.1 three-point attempts per game. That's something that Sixers need to give us more of, more volume three-pointers. This is just a low-risk, high-reward move for the Philadelphia 76ers. It all really boils down to, will Kelly Oubre buy into that Nick Nurse system? I don't want him being a black hole offense. I don't want him, just dribbling. I'm interested to see what Nick Nurse can unlock with Kelly Oubre. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I love it for this team. I mean, this team needed a little bit of positive publicity, and I think this is it. I'm not saying he's a make or break guy, but he's a guy that provides you with another forward who can shoot the ball a little bit, but also defend. I love the wide open three numbers that you just gave because he's going to get them, whether James Harden's on the court or not. Having guys like Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid are going to free other guys up. But what I really like is he could be that spark plug off the bench to score. He could get you those points off the bench that I think the Sixers have really lacked in previous years, when they go on those little lulls when the starters come out. But he's also a guy that you probably can slide in and let him start, if need be. And he's not going to take away minutes from Tyrese Maxey. He's not going to take away minutes from Joel Embiid. He's not going to take away minutes maybe from Paul Reed, which I know is something we all hope not to see. And like you said, look, Nick Nurse was a guy I loved to hate when he was the coach of the Raptors. Like, I loved to make fun of him and his whining and all that. But you can never question his basketball IQ and his basketball acumen. And he seems to find the best places to put players. So there's nothing that can happen with Kelly Oubre that I see as a negative right now. As you said, low risk, high reward. And I mean, look, they're starting training camp in, 3 weeks. They're going to be out in Colorado. Who the hell knows if it's going to be fat James Harden there or James Harden just deciding, all right, I'm just going to play and just not talk to Daryl Morey, which if you're professional, that should be your game, James. Your game should be, all right, I hate Daryl Morey. He screwed me over, but I like all these guys I play with. Let me go ball out for a year so somebody gives me the money I'm looking for. Like, I don't know why that's that difficult to understand at this point.
Yeah. Who knows what's going to happen. But that kind of leads us right into reasons to get excited for the Sixers. Leading off, obviously, number one, a real coach, and an actual system for the Sixers this year, rather than some sort of politician trying to build hierarchies and a guy that's all about the regular season and heavy ISO basketball. Glad we can move on. That's number one. Number two, I think we'll see a better version of Joel that's more focused on defense and rebounding. Nick Nurse confirmed that. I think the scoring load needs to take a step back or two for Joel Embiid. I think that's going to help a lot of the Sixers' issues with rebounding. I think that's going to, keep Joel Embiid fresh down the road. I think that's a really good move. You look at, obviously, Harden basically out of the picture. I don't expect him to be on this team in the foreseeable future, but we get to see what Maxey can do with the offense. I think 25 plus per game this year, a career high in assists. I'm excited to see what Maxey can look like as a perimeter threat next to Joel during fourth quarters down the stretch. I'm excited for Maxey and us trying to identify what this guy's feeling really is. We're going to get a really good glimpse of that. Look, I know they're completely different sports, but look at, Jalen Hurts. We had that same question when we went into last season. We really didn't know what Jalen Hurts was going to be. Tyrese Maxey's heading himself towards a huge contract extension. And more information, the better. The more data, the better. And then Paul Reed being out of the mud, potentially starting over PJ Tucker. I'm really excited to see that. I'm excited for more Melton, PJ Tucker, not PJ Tucker, B-ball Paul type of basketball. I think they could fit really well. And then Jaden Springer potentially developing into an Avery Bradley type of basketball player. Those are my reasons. Did I convince you?
Yeah, there's a lot there. It's like I sit here and I go, all right, if James Harden isn't here, who is the starting five? Like, I don't know if I can pinpoint who the starting five is. Like, I understand people not wanting to start PJ Tucker, but I also would almost rather PJ Tucker start a game and then go to the bench. Like, I don't want PJ Tucker's not the spark plug off the bench. And don't you already have a guy that could be like a PJ Tucker-esque on the bench and a Patrick Beverly? Like, do you really want to go to the bench and bring both of those guys in? So does Patrick Beverly start if you don't start PJ Tucker, if you need another starter at the guard spot, and leave DeAnthony Melton to be a sixth man and that sort of thing? Like, I'm curious where you think they're going to go as far as starters if we just sit here and go, James Harden isn't here, but then that also lends you to say, well, if they make a trade, do they trade for a guy who starts in that spot too?
Well, you can lock in Joel. You can lock in Toby. That's easy.
Yeah.
Tyrese, obviously. So that's three. The next question is, I want to see B-ball Paul as a starter. I want to, that was such a missing element for the Sixers last year. What's up, Joey? We have Quentin saying, how does Oubre's presence impact B-ball? I was dreaming of Paul being a starter. That's literally what I was just saying. I want to see B-ball Paul just causing havoc, man. If the Sixers are going to take a few steps back with Harden's lack of offense not being on the roster anymore, let's get the chaos on the court. Let's get the deflections up. Let's get defense and the offense up. Transition basketball up. Let's focus on an offense that gets Maxey in the open court. But to go back to your question, I want to see. I guess it would probably be Melton. He did play quite a bit, but I would expect those to be the starters. Am I missing anybody? B-ball Paul.
I don't think you're missing. I just wonder, because is Nick Nurse going to go with a full five bench? And if he does, that means at the same time you're going to have Patrick Beverly and PJ Tucker out there. And where I know that they're both, dogs and they're going to get in people's, ass on the defensive end, you better hope to God those other three guys are going to score for you.
Yeah.
So that's my only concern there, and why I wouldn't be surprised to start the season if one or the other starts. But if PJ Tucker started the game, but Paul Reed came in, played more minutes, and closes the game, I'm okay with that. I would be okay with that too as a secondary option.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up Kelly Oubre and how much he was played minutes at the point guard spot last year. Give me a second.
I just, while you're doing that, I'll talk about a little of your list. I agree. I'm excited to see Tyrese Maxey. I'm intrigued to watch Joel Embiid because I have nerves now that Joel Embiid's going to start complaining if things aren't going great. And I mean, look, there's already reports he's 100%. He's on board with what the team is doing. He understands it. He's willing to give it time. He wants to work with Nick Nurse. But, Joel Embiid has been a guy that when things haven't been going well, has been known to sulk and do all that stuff. And I'm really hoping he really embraces the fact that he is the guy, the leader. There's no one else in that locker room to do it.
So Kelly Oubre last season, 17.6% of the time facilitated the pick and roll as a ball handler. He was good for 68th percentile, 0.94 points per possession, which is not bad. That's not bad. I think we should expect, especially if Harden's not on the court, Nick Nurse to run some sort of rotation with lead guards, because we'll see what happens. But Quinn, I hope B-Ball Paul gets as many opportunities as possible. Do you have any more comments on the Sixers before we deep dive into the Eagles?
No, we'll worry about them in 3 weeks when we find out what teams does.
All right, let's roll into the Philadelphia Eagles, leading off with top matchups to watch against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Lead us off, Rob. What are you watching for on Monday Night Football?
Look, someone put this on Twitter. It's like murderer's row to start the season with defensive coordinators and defensive schemes for the Eagles. You go Bill Belichick, then you go to Brian Flores, and now you're going down to Tampa, where their head coach is a defensive guy. So my matchup is the Eagles versus the Eagles offense. I mean, it's broad, but it's the Eagles offense versus the defense, because Tampa Bay right now has won games because of their defense. They were able to hold Minnesota down on the road in Minnesota. And then last week, I don't know why is it slipping my mind who they beat at home last week.
You're drawing a blank, Phil.
I'm drawing a blank, but whoever was, I don't remember being like an offensively fire-powered game. Now I know Mike Evans had a great day last year. Look, they have weapons on offense, but Baker Mayfield's still the quarterback. So I'm not gonna.
Chicago.
That's right. Yeah, which is I mean they got their quarterback calling out a coach already after 2 weeks today, but to me it's about this offense, and it's what's so funny is the Eagles offense has not played great.
Mm-hmm.
Yet they averaged 29 points over the first 2 weeks of the season, which is like way above average for teams. So imagine once they start to click, like that's the scary thing right here. And listen, Quentin just put it up. If they can run early, I think that opens everything else up for them. You kind of saw it the other day where they didn't do anything. They started running, and all of a sudden they hit on a couple deep balls. A couple got called back. One, there was no interference call, but they were able to start hitting on them because they were running so effectively.
Mm-hmm.
What I loved about the other night against Minnesota was I was as down in the dumps after the first couple drives as anybody. I was like, holy shit, Brian Johnson can't call a game, blah, blah, blah. But here's what we've said about Sirianni since he came in. He will adjust on the fly and do whatever it takes to win a ball game. He's not going to just stick to his thing. So because of that, I have confidence in this offense going forward that they'll adjust and do what they need to do when they need to do it. But I think that's the key is you get out early, score points, but then damn it, 2 weeks in a row you get up big and you don't hold a lead. Like we got to see them do that better as well.
Yeah, that's a really good one. The Brian Johnson, man. Will he step up? Because it seemed like that second quarter against the Vikings, he just got out of his way and let the Eagles do what they do best instead of, outthinking, instead of scheming, and instead of all these like design runs from Hurts. Just do what you do best. Attack the defense. Don't overthink things. And they did a really good job just churning first down after first down after first down. The blueprint has been against the Philadelphia Eagles to blitz Jalen Hurts. And I thought they made really good adjustments in week 2 after really struggling. The offensive line, mostly Jordan Mailata, really stepped up from week 1 to week 2. You look at Jalen Hurts against the blitz. He was 10 of 13 for 179 yards on 17 dropbacks, 145.1 passer rating, and a touchdown. That one throw he hit Devontae with a guy just right in his face.
Yeah, it was
that was a great throw, man. Ironically, I'm interested to see where this goes because the Eagles have been blitzed like nonstop since 2022, man. It's been crazy. The Eagles have had to handle the blitz 17% of the time since 2022. That's the highest mark across the NFL since 2022. So what's funny about, and I say that, is because Jalen Hurts' numbers when defenses drop back in coverage are way worse. He really struggles when teams drop back. And I'm curious to see how teams start to see that data and adjust because the Eagles have done a terrific job, even last year, handling the blitz.
Yeah, and Kelsey had said it on Thursday night after the game that the first 2 weeks, the things that defenses are throwing at him, they never have seen before. So, it is going to take them time to adjust to that. But I do have confidence in the Nick Sirianni-run offensive staff that they will make adjustments. Now, look, it doesn't have to be like last year where you were just 35 points a game, no doubt about it. It doesn't have to be that way. But, it's so funny that they've averaged 29 points a game. It really is because it just doesn't seem that way. Because of some of the lack. First of all, they've gone back to that sideways pass way too much in the first 2 weeks. I've seen it way too much. And they're not throwing it to the right guys. They're throwing it to like Quez Watkins, who can't break a tackle. Like I got to stop. I can't see that. Why is Dallas Goedert only catching 5-yard passes? What's going on with that?
Crazy, right?
Is that Goddard not getting open, or is that Hurts not seeing him? Because in game 1, there were a few times where they did the zoomed out cam where he was just missing him. Goddard was open, middle of the field, wide open, and Hurts was missing him. So Hurts has got to get himself back. But at the same time, look, the Eagles are 2-0, and it's so funny because you look around the league and what is everybody doing? Talking about the 49ers, talking about Dallas and how dominant they've looked against the Giants, who are not as good as people probably thought, and a Jets team with Zach Wilson at quarterback. No one's talking about the Eagles. I'm okay with that. I'm actually glad that we're getting back to people now doubting the Eagles because I think as time goes on, they'll continue to, put the foot on the gas here.
Yep. Quinn says Hurts will continue to see 40% blitz, 40% 8-man coverage. The Eagles go up against Tampa Bay, who, let me get up the stats here. Blitz have the 6th highest blitz percentage so far through 2 games at 37.8%. The Buccaneers are tied for 3rd most sacks in the league. So guys like Shaq Barrett, Devin White. You remember back in that playoff game against Tampa Bay, man, Hurts really struggled, man. They swarmed him. They were fast. Made Jalen Hurts. They hurt his processing, made him second guess. They will be in the backfield for sure, man. They fly. Patrick says, concerned about the defense giving up 48 points the last 2 games. Cowboys look like they can run away with the division. I don't think that. But Dallas play.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that because I understand the defense has given up 48 points, but I also want to look at it and say they were up 29-7 or 25-7, whatever it was, against Minnesota. They were up 2 or maybe even 3 scores against New England. I can't remember. The issue I'm having is they get a little lackadaisical once they get a lead. Like that, I agree, has to stop. But I think the defense as a whole, there's been a lot of positives. Like in that New England game, after they gave up that touchdown at the end of the first half, they shut them down for a quarter and a half. They did not allow that team to move the ball whatsoever. You look at some of the stats that don't end up on like the tackles. Look at what Jalen Carter's doing already. Look at what Jordan Davis has done already. Look at the fact that no one, knock on wood, has been able to run against them. No one.
Yep.
I mean, it's not even. It is out of the playbook. It is out of the playbook right now for these opposing offenses, and that's a big thing because of that defensive line. And your linebackers for the most part are holding up. I mean, look, Cunningham came out and had a tremendous game on Thursday night. That was Nicholas Morrow, who was cut, signed to the practice squad, comes in and was solid. He wasn't great. He didn't do anything special, but he didn't make mistakes either. And that's important. So the defense doesn't worry me that much. What worries me is when they get the big leads, put the foot down and end the game, and let's just get done. And honestly, that game would have ended if the Eagles finished that one drive off where they ended up taking a holding penalty and then sack. And that was also, I believe, the drive where they should have had a touchdown, and they called they didn't call pass interference when it was clearly pass interference. So
Patrick says play calling. Yeah, the play calling has been bad, but so has Jalen Hurts at times this year, man. He needs to be better. He needs to be better. Mr. Rudy Poo says, I mean, with this amount of blitzing, Hurts needs to get used to this already. Here are Jalen Hurts' stats against the blitz this year, 2 games. 68% completion percentage, 8.6 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and 121.4 passer rating. He's freaking handling the blitz. That's why I said earlier, his numbers are way worse when, like Quentin said, you see, 8 drop back. So that's definitely something to watch moving forward.
If there's anything about Hurts that I've realized is his know when to run, or his he seems skittish almost when he starts to break the pocket sometimes. A couple times on the read option, he kept the ball when he absolutely should have given the ball up. He's got to understand that not only do they have the end now staying home, they have the linebacker, the safety behind him. They're not moving. They're not going to move. Take what the defense is going to give you. If they're going to give you 8 yards up the middle every time you're running back, take the damn 8 yards up the middle every time.
Yeah. I definitely think there has been way too many design runs with Hurts.
Yeah.
Especially with a playmaker like DeAndre Swift. And I think we kind of saw that against the Vikings. They finally were like, okay, that's enough. Just give the ball to Swift. He Shady-esque explosiveness. His cuts against the Vikings were unbelievable. Hopefully we see that moving forward. Jay says we're 2-0. Hopefully this season we will continue. They will continue to ignore us, blasting through the season under the radar. The Bucs have talent and a ballsy quarterback, but the Eagles know how to win. Yep. Quentin says, I'd rather our players hear doubt instead of hearing praise. That is a really good point too, man. The Eagles have not played their best football. Mr. Rudy Poo says, I guess the offense looks out of sync. Everything seems to be improvising. Also, Jalen looks slower. I agree with JP says here. We're 2-0. The biggest question marks for the Eagles was the coordinators, Brian Johnson, Sean Desai. Everyone saw this coming. I mean, they didn't play a lick in the preseason.
Yep.
Let's get real here.
Sirianni made a comment.
We're 2-0.
Sirianni made the comment he's not going to do that next year. He's now understanding that they got to at least have some game action in the preseason. So, yeah, I mean, they're 2-0. This comment, Evans had a big week last week. I agree, but that was the first big week Evans has had, I feel like, in a long time. So I don't know if you need to, if Bradbury, I haven't heard anything. Is Bradbury out of concussion protocol?
He should be good to go. At least he better, because we're going to talk about this next. I love this comment.
Yeah. I mean, look, Bradbury, I'm fine with that. And you let Slay, kind of look at Godwin and you kind of try and, solidify that because look, Mario Goodrich is about to get thrown in to a really interesting situation. The Eagles will make a move at some point in the next couple of weeks to solidify that. I have a couple names in mind. I know they brought in that William Jackson, but I have a guy that I wanted in the draft over Jalen Hurts that is now not even starting in Carolina and getting a very low percentage, and they seem to be going down, that I would not mind taking a stab at, and Jeremy Chin, because I know people say, well, he's a safety. Yeah, but he plays some slot corner too. And I wouldn't mind that at all. I mean, people talked about Budda Baker, but I think he just went on IR, so that's out for a couple weeks. So it's going to be that slot position is going to be very interesting. And if they don't follow those guys, it could be a problem.
Yeah, this is where I go. This was where my head went for my number one matchup was the coverage. If there's anything that I've not been okay with so far with the Eagles, has been their coverage at times. Mario Goodrich, I thought Josh Jobe was okay. I thought he was, I would say better than okay. I would say he was pretty good given the circumstance. Mm-hmm. But where I'm concerned, like you said, is the slot. You got Chris Godwin, who's playing more on the outside this year. But if I were the Bucs, knowing how dominant Chris Godwin has been in the past in the slot, as a chain mover, as a major third down weapon, I would abuse that in a big way. Mike Evans also has time in the slot. That's a huge concern. I think we will see the Eagles have a rotation here at this position. I think we'll see James Bradberry. He's got the size. He's got experience kind of battling some receivers there in the slot. I want to see Sidney Brown. He has experience from college and the size and the athleticism to battle in the slot as well. I think we're going to see, just like we saw on the defensive line, an intriguing rotation. I think they're just going to just honestly throw some darts on a dartboard and see what works, because not a lot of great answers, but I think the best answer is James Bradberry.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And I noted someone said we don't let our stars follow guys. That's changed because, Darius Slay has followed Justin Jefferson for 2 years now. Now, obviously, Justin got the better of him this year. But, I tell you what, a couple of those plays, Darius Slay could not have been in better coverage. And somehow, some way, Justin Jefferson made some of those catches. So I think that they will let guys follow. They're not going to be stupid. They're not going to just say, no, we don't do this, so we're not going to do it. But it'll be interesting to see going forward with that. And like I said, I believe the Eagles always make that one little trade or one little signing. I think it's a trade this year, and I think it's somebody in that secondary. They're going to find a guy that's fallen out of favor with his team or is on the end of a contract, and the team's not going anywhere, and they'll make a move that way.
Yep. Patrick says the Eagles defense comes out on fire. Then the Eagles quickly keep going 3 and out, which causes the defense fatigue by halfway to the second quarter. Mr. Rudy Poo says Evans versus Goodrich. I don't like that, man. I don't like that at all. You got to get Bradberry on Mike Evans as much as you can with Bradberry's size. We'll see what happens, man. It's going to be a chess match. Jay says, who do you think the Eagles could get who would be on the same level as the rest of the Eagles roster? There's not a lot of cornerbacks, defensive backs out there. Can Ricks play in the slot? Ricks is not a great athlete. I think he's clearly an outside corner, and I'm excited about Eli Ricks. But if you look at his spider chart, man, I don't think he has the hip fluidity and twitch to be able to play that spot. Sidney Brown absolutely does. That's why I've been kind of bringing that up. So if there's anything to experiment on in week 3, I would much rather throw Sidney Brown in that spot than Eli Ricks.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'd rather see Sidney Brown get some burn there.
Yep. Thank the Lord we don't play Jefferson every game. Absolutely. Would the Colts part ways with Kenny Moore? Any idea who that dude is? I don't.
Yeah, no, I don't think they would. We look at the Colts. Are they 1-1? But they played Jacksonville pretty tough for most of that game. I don't know if they're ready to. But I'm telling you, I look at the Carolina Panthers and I look at a team that's rebuilding. They got to, they're going to take some lumps this year with Bryce Young. Jeremy Chin's on the final year of a contract, and he's not playing as much. I think he only played, someone told me, 38% of the snaps the other night. Mm-hmm. So, that would be a name that I would be all over, if the Eagles should go that route.
My last matchup, of course, is the Eagles pass rush, led by a trio with 2 guys that I wasn't expecting to have in the top 3 for the Eagles. It's Jalen Carter, Josh Sweat, of course, and then Jordan Davis. Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis have been unbelievable the last 2 games. Their pressure percentage is through the freaking roof, man. We all know the crazy numbers that Carter is putting up, but I did not like Jordan Davis for a second. Can we talk about Jordan Davis? Went from a clear project. No one expected him to be a 3-down player when the Eagles drafted him. He was a run stuffer, a nose tackle, like a guy that will, make everyone else better. But what have we seen through 2 games from Jordan Davis, man? The dude is getting into quarterbacks' grills. He's swim moving. He's throwing people around. He's forcing fumbles. I didn't expect this guy to be that much of a playmaker. And the duo of Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, man, has me really excited about the upside and potential of this defensive line, especially when Hassan Reddick starts to cook moving forward.
Seth Joyner was interviewed this week, and everyone knows that Seth played on that gangrene Eagles defense in the 90s and 91. And, Seth said there's no doubt in his mind that when he watches Jalen Carter, he said the potential of him is Jerome Brown. He said he does things that he's only seen Jerome Brown do. Now, for the younger fans out there that are even younger than me, because I was really young then, but that dude, if he doesn't die tragically, my God, what he was going to be. And, at that time you had him and Red. I mean, he actually said Jalen Carter did a move the other day that was a Reggie White vintage move, which is just like you hear this guy's name, and I'm not saying he's them, but he's brought up in the same sentence. What's not excited? And then the maturation and the improvement of Jordan Davis has been really good. But then even the other tackles are making plays, like Milton Williams makes at least 3 or 4 plays a game. And I know that the sacks haven't been there yet, but the pressures are there and people are getting on Reddick. Well, if you remember, Reddick started like this last year and then caught his wind late. So, relax there. But even Fletcher Cox looks younger. He looks younger. And why is that? Because he doesn't have to play as much because Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter can take the brunt of the heavy load of snaps.
I love the rotation right now. Like, it's great. Like the biggest concern about the defensive line was the loss of Javon Hargrave. And now that you add Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, who's actually playing at if not an even better level, which is just ridiculous. It's only 2 games.
Yeah.
But it's wild, man. JP says, imagine if we got Jeremy Chin or Burns from Carolina. Having Davis and Carter is brilliant. It's like having a tank on the field. The play where Jalen Carter just bursted through into the backfield and then literally just threw the running back down for a tackle for loss, man. His power and twitch is just a different level. Unreal. It's just different. Jay says Carter is just handling grown men like they are high school. That's what it looks like, man.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. And it was week 3 last year when Reddick came up. I'm not worried about Hassan Reddick. He dropped back into coverage a lot more in week 2 to kind of make up for the linebacker issues and depth. So, Reddick will be back. But any other matchups you want to throw out there before we get into score predictions and player of the game predictions?
Not really. I mean, I don't know if it's a matchup as much as players I want to watch. Dallas Goedert and A.J. Brown. Obviously, A.J. Brown wasn't happy last week, but to his defense, he did realize he was just, got caught up in the moment. But I'd like to see Dallas Goedert have a big game. 6 or 7 catches, 80 yards, 90 yards, a touchdown, something along those lines. I think should be in store because as good as those Buccaneer linebackers are getting downhill and blitzing and all that stuff, if I remember, Dallas Goedert has got a little bit of a size advantage there. So I'd like to see them take advantage of that over the middle of the field and let Dallas Goedert have a day.
I think it's been so weird how the Eagles have neglected the middle of the football field. Completely neglected. I think I saw 1 target in week 2. That's just when you have a top 5 tight end in Dallas Goedert. What are we doing? I don't know. Off subject, but Stroud doesn't look good. or doesn't Stroud look good? I'm not sure. I haven't watched the
I haven't
Texans.
watched too much Houston, but I mean, they've been in games. They've been in both games they played in. So
Yeah.
he's always doing something.
All right. Let's get into score predictions, player of the game predictions, man. What's your gut feeling right now as we sit here on Wednesday?
My gut feeling is I know Tampa Bay's a 2-0 team, and I know the Eagles are a 2-0 team, and people expect that to mean it's a great matchup. I just think the Eagles are a better football team all around. I think that Nick Sirianni is the kind of rah-rah guy to play up. The last time they were down there and they got smoked and it wasn't close and all that sort of thing. I expect the Eagles to be better on offense, maybe go to the run quicker, maybe start with the run and then work the pass in later. And then I expect Dallas Goedert to have the big game. I'm going to say the Eagles win this one 33-17.
Ooh, okay. Quentin says Goddard and Swift should get a lot of targets versus the blitz. Absolutely agree. The Eagles target A.J. Brown the most on the blitz, though. Just an FYI. Jay says Eagles win 31-17. That's really close to Rob's prediction there. And we've had a few extra days to sort themselves out. Yeah, it's kind of like a mini bye for the Eagles here. But I'm right there with you, Rob. I don't think it's going to be that much of a blowout. I'm going to say 33-26. I think we'll see the Tampa Bay Bucs kind of get some points, just like we saw last week in garbage time. But I do think the Eagles roll pretty comfortably on Monday Night Football. My player of the game is Jalen Carter. You know, he's a blue chip player. He's playing his first Monday Night Football. He's been utterly dominant his first two games of the season, man. I expect a huge game from Jalen Carter. Yeah, he doesn't play that many snaps, but I think we're going to see some of the dominance from Jalen Carter. I'm predicting like a sack, maybe a strip, and maybe like a pressure that leads to an interception for the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Carter is my guy, and I'm going to keep rolling with him.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the guy I've been talking about here for the last few minutes, Dallas Goedert. I think this is going to be your Dallas Goedert game. They're going to go back to the middle of the field. They're going to utilize him. He's going to make some plays for him. And like I said, I think he gets about 90 yards and a touchdown this week. So I'll go Dallas Goedert.
Death, taxes, and Debbie Downer with Quentin Moore. I know where you're going with that. I know it, man. I know it. Mayfield is cool. He just launches the ball. He's looked really good with Mike Evans, man. That chemistry is really strong. But that basically wraps up this show. Rob, where can we find you, man? Final thoughts.
Find me right here, Party on Broad. You can find me on Twitter during the games at Philly_madness. Final thoughts, let's stay calm. Like I see this town going bonkers with a 2-0 team, and it's like, just relax. Like, they haven't played well, and they've averaged 29 points, and they've won 2 games, including against the Minnesota team, who had a lot of reasons to come in here fired up to get one back on us, and it didn't happen. Didn't even come close. So, they'll be okay. They're going to be okay.
I agree, man. Let's pump the brakes. I mean, the Eagles fans are panicking a little bit too much. But we've got a full slate of shows coming up here. Philly Press Box Radio will be going live at 7:00. They've got NFL Films legend Bob Angelo talking Eagles and Phillies. And then EOP Live will be talking more Phillies and Eagles at 8:30. So definitely want to check that out. If you love college football, tons and tons of college football content on the channel. Shorts, highlight reels, winners of the week, you name it. We didn't do a college football preview for Party on Broad. Ryan is sick. But we did do a BGN Radio week 4 preview for our top Eagles targets. And we also talked and previewed Notre Dame versus Ohio State, which is going to be a great football game. So go check that out. Guys, I want to thank you, everyone, for the comments. They were awesome tonight. We do every Wednesday at 6. He is Rob Lange at Philly_Madness. I am Dobbs for Rob. For myself, stay awesome.